The Biden campaign has a pulse. Yes, the president finally hitting the trail months after declaring his bid for a second term.
What I'm really proud about is being reelected the most pro-union president in history. We've got a story to tell. We've got a record to run on. We've got a fight in our hands. And my question to you is simple. Are you with me in this fight?
But it's a long road ahead for the Biden team. Staffers are going to have to work overtime in order to make sure that bizarre moments like this don't derail his message.
A lot of you are tired. You're tired. No, I get it. Try being 110 and doing it again. There's that scene in the John Wayne movie, don't make me a dog-faced lion pony soldier. All right? God save the Queen, man.
No, it wasn't even in the movie, Judge. It was not. That's not the first time Biden has confused people with his old-timey expressions. The media coming to his defense saying, quote, Biden's quirky aphorisms are sometimes weaponized by Republicans, but Biden has been using unique phrases for years. Even some of his aides aren't exactly sure what he means by them. And there's other trouble brewing for the president. The press shocked to learn that Biden is struggling against his top contender.
A poll from Quinnipiac on a possible Biden-Trump matchup puts Biden at 48%, Trump at 44%. This is a poll, again, taken largely after the indictment. I mean, that's got to make you a little nervous. That's within the margin of error. That is a statistical tie. What does that say about Biden if he's barely beating or in some polls actually losing?
It says that the country is very divided.
Greg, do you remember, well, you can talk about anything, of course, but I was just watching that. Do you remember when President Trump tweeted Covfefe?
Yeah.
And CNN basically had like a major, they called in all the analysts to figure out, like, what could this possibly mean? But they think that Biden's quirky aphorisms are charming.
They bend over backwards to explain away what clearly is a cognitive failure. Listening to Joe talk about anything is like playing connect the dots with various things he's heard throughout the day. He's in a doctor's office. He reads a little like gets a crossword puzzle clue. He puts it together with something else, and then he creates this kind of like mosaic of nonsense that just floats around in what's left of his brain. I think when he said "God Save the Queen," he's either referring to Kamala Harris or Sam Brinton. But I do think it's weird that the media only expects competence from Republicans. I think if I were a Democrat, I'd be kind of insulted by this. I mean, with the exception of a hoodie and aviator glasses, these emperors have no clothes. Everybody can see how bad it is. And yet somehow they just write it away by saying, oh, it's just quirky. You brought up Trump. Do you know that, I mean, the Washington Post bravely did a piece. It had, I guess, had a historian comparing Trump to Brezhnev during the stroking decline. And yet they won't do that here, when in fact their only resistance to Trump had nothing to do with cognition or whether or not he was unfit for office. It was because they didn't like his personality, which is crazy. A person could be obnoxious and sane.
The media wasn't just gushing about that. Call for number one, if you don't mind pulling this up. This is about the president's reinvigorated campaign schedule. Jesse, listen here.
Get this number, 20 fundraisers on the books between now and the end of June involving the president, the vice president, and other top cabinet officials involved with this operation as well.
Wow, 20 between now and the end of June. That averages to more than one a day. That's a lot.
Like the media is like happy that Joe's talking to donors instead of them. Like the media is, remember when the press said that, you know, that there was too much money in politics? Now they're like, go for it. Go to another fundraiser. I just can't wait to weaponize Joe's gaffes. Just so much fun to weaponize it. I can imagine Joe Biden kicking a puppy and Axios coming up with the headline, Republicans weaponize pet ownership. Like, why does the weaponizer always sound more scandalous than the scandal? But here's the problem with these stupid gaffes. And Biden has this plan that he has with the media, and he expects the media to never call his bluff. Biden comes out and says something, we're going to build a train across the Pacific, or God save the Queen, or I don't even know what my son does for a living. And you can't ask him about it because he won't appear in public for a week. And then when a week has passed and you get your shot, there's about 17 news cycles that have passed. Right. So you can't even ask him about it. But if you do dare ask him about it and you say, you know, Joe, you were in Connecticut, the Queen's dead, and you went to her funeral, you will be destroyed by the communication shop. You will be admonished, you'll be chewed out, you'll be isolated, and you'll probably be punished. And you remember the kid in class that would misbehave and then the teacher would punish everybody with homework?
Oh, was that
because
you?
I hated that.
Was that
Right.
you?
Maybe it was Greg, maybe it was me, but it was a way to get everybody else to turn against the one person. And that's what they'll do here. If someone asks that question, Joe's like, you know what? I'm not going to come out for 2 weeks now. And then no one's ever going to get to ask him any questions. But think about this. They asked Bill Clinton, did you have an affair? They asked Bush, why didn't you stop 9/11 and wear the WMDs? They asked Reagan, you lost your fastball. They asked Trump, why are you such a racist traitor? They can't ask Joe Biden, what did you mean when you said God save the Queen? And that's what's going on. The press allows itself to be controlled.
If you could get me the full screen of the New York Times reporting, I want to read it to Jessica and have her respond. This is from the New York Times saying that some of Mr. Biden's allies say they worry that the president's still nascent campaign does not fully grasp the depth of its problems with Democratic voters who have consistently told pollsters they would prefer that Mr. Biden not seek re-election. Do you think they don't grasp it, or they're just saying, well, there's nothing we can really do about that, we just have to go forward?
Well, and they're also banking on Trump being on the other side of all of this, which makes it an election about Donald Trump and less about Joe Biden, right? And now you have Donald Trump, who already lost in 2020, and then he's going to be twice indicted, maybe thrice indicted sounds fancy, by the time that we get to the election. And I think that is part of the calculus here. I saw a few people who had worked for the Biden team, former Obama people, talking about the fact that the campaign launch was on a Saturday afternoon. It wasn't a primetime thing. It wasn't a big rally that people could get behind. You come home 8 o'clock on a Friday night, whatever it is, and tune into it, and how that's an issue. That you need to have excited crowds, not because I think crowds equals winning, because that happened with Bernie Sanders. He had huge stadiums full of people, and Hillary ended up winning the primary. But because are you guys?
Look at that.
Quote
scare
unquote.
quote.
See, like, I'm trying to be a serious person, and you guys are doing this to me.
Winning.
Yes, she did win by a lot.
And Epstein
Stop it.
killed himself.
By a lot. But what I think is really important about making the case that he does those kinds of events is that the other prominent Democrats are going to be doing them. So we didn't mention it last Monday when Gavin Newsom was on with Hannity. We talked about that and how important it was. That morning, Gretchen Whitmer, who people like a lot, launched her PAC. And her PAC will be raising money for herself, also for down ballot candidates and for the president. And these younger Democrats that people like are going to be out and very visible. And if he doesn't look like he is as much, it could be an issue.
Judge, one of the things the Biden campaign has said that they want to go out and they want to finish the job, and they want to go out there and tell everybody that all of these accomplishments that they say that they've had in Congress are really helping Americans. But I was listening to Julian Castro, if you remember him, big Democrat, but he's willing to basically say what other Democrats won't. And he said that in all of their research that they're finding that nothing is sticking. Like, there's nothing that a Democrat can look at and say, yes, the infrastructure bill really helped me. It's not working.
Yeah, no one can really point to anything that's helping them. They get these platitudes from the White House. And I don't care if somebody who looks like a football player or someone's pretty, someone's smart. You can send out a whole cheerleading squad. And if the team is not, together, then they're not going to win. And the whole idea of Trump being at 44 and Biden at 48 is not because of a divided country. Donald Trump has been painted to be the most hated man, the most criminal candidate for president. The fact that he's even that close to Joe Biden shows how badly Joe Biden is doing. 70% of Americans don't want Biden to run. It's not because they don't think he's a nice guy. It's because they know he is in cognitive decline. When you say God save the Queen and you're in Connecticut and you've already been to her funeral, what is going on in your head? But this is what happens in nations like China, for example. China, the media comes out and they say something like, or let's say North Korea, Kim Jong-un is fit. he is handsome, he is strong, and the crowds go, yes, yes, yes. That's what they want us to do with Joe Biden. Nobody's buying that crap. Nobody. And let me tell you one more thing. This whole idea of 20 fundraisers. I mean, I did 3 a night, and I was a local state candidate.
Right.
That's nothing. But the fundraisers are important because he doesn't have to do much more than shake hands and take a picture.
Take a picture. Yeah.
If he gets involved in talking with people, talking with the press, doing a rally, having a round table, the man is incapable of doing it. So at the end of the day, the Dems can be unified. They can have their, Joe Biden is like Kim Jong-un. He's handsome, he's fit, and he's smart. America's not buying it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.